First of all, I would like to introduce our friends, José Manuel Chema Colmenarez, who is director of the Clinica ONG, otolaryngologist or ear, nose and throat specialist clinic. Then we have Carlos Franceschi, who is entrepreneur, son of he's a producer of cocoa and chocolate, and also recently father of a beautiful baby girl. Alejandro Marius, founder and president of the association Trabajo y Persona, work and individual. Chema, what does building the common good mean for you in your country? You began all these free initiatives. Why do you continue to do this? And how does this gratuitousness change you and what surrounds you? First of all, I'd like to thank you all for having invited me. I would like to thank you, Monica, the organizers of this beautiful and very important event. The question that you asked me, a lot of people ask me this question, and I ask myself this question. This is a map of Venezuela. You can see El Tocuyo, where I was born, where we have our activity is most present and operates the most. I went to Europe, then I went to Venezuela. I continued to ask this question the whole time. Why have they invited me here at the meeting? Why me? Where much more important people come to speak and talk about their lives. Why did I have this wonderful chance? I came back from California in 1995 after studying surgery in ear, nose and throat, otolaryngology. I wanted to help the people in my small city and all the people of Venezuela by using what I had learned. When I went back to El Tocuyo, some friends asked me to come to the hospital of El Tocuyo. It is a very small city, El Tocuyo. It was founded about 500 years ago by Spaniards. It has a very important tradition. It's located in a valley where there is a river, a 20-kilometer square river. At the beginning, only the hospital was made up of 2 patients, and as you can see here, this is the clinic of otolaryngology, of which I am director. And it has to do with the association that I will talk to you about now. In 1995, we only had 1 doctor and 2 patients, and last year we managed to have about 140 doctors present and 2,500 patients who were assisted in the clinic, and 432 surgeries. So this snowball, this had a snowball effect, and we began to have many more patients, and they come from many different areas, even from other cities surrounding El Tocuyo. How did this happen in 23 years? Because we had more, in the last 23 years, we've had 7,000 consultations and 3,000 surgeries over the last 23 years. We give gifts to the children. And this is because we operate, especially at Christmas time. And all of these activities require months of preparation. We want to see the children and the parents happy. This initiative in El Tocuyo is the greatest activity in Venezuela of this kind. In order to get to this success, to this level of success, we needed to have a lot of support from other associations, from NGOs, institutions, other sponsors that have helped us, entrepreneurs. And the otolaryngology clinic was fundamental in this as well. They invited us from other parts of the country as well to continue the work as well and operate in other places. We go to the operation hall, we operate and then we leave. I don't go as a doctor, but sometimes we have to solve problems like fixing the lift or looking after the fact that there's no electricity, painting walls, any kind of problem. We try to solve it, and we try to solve this problem in a place where the minimum wage is very, very low. And there are always more and more people who are asking us for help. This initiative, we always start with the mass, where the children come with their parents, and some of them need to be a medical consultation, or some of them need to be treated, and then they go to the various specialists so that they can be treated. Monica asked me, why is your association called Stapedium? Well, Stapedium is the smallest part it's the smallest muscle of the body, of the body. So it's very small, it's contained in the ear, and it has a huge function. So this is the metaphor of the kind of work that we do in our association. And I also want to tell you that if the health system in Venezuela started working, people would be able to go and be visited during the whole year. They could have a surgical operation anytime during the year, but unfortunately the situation has gotten worse, so this is not possible. At the end of the 1950s, we were very proud of the fact that the University of Caracas was one of the best in the whole of Latin America for the head ear hospital. And now it is difficult to either treat and diagnose the patients. All of Venezuela is crossing the most difficult period, and we simply do not have the economic resources of Caracas. Last year, 40% of graduates left the country, and they started to exercise in many other countries in Latin America. Immigration has reached about 5 million people now, and this means that conditions have obviously worsened because many people have immigration has changed things very much. For example, in the University of Caracas, maybe you have some relatives in Venezuela, or you've gone there as a tourist. There are a lot of relationships between Italy and Venezuela. Where I was in El Tocuyo, there were 10 families who were Italian, 2 were Spanish, and 5 were autochthonous families from Venezuela. And the best pasta I've ever eaten was, I had my best pasta at my neighbor's house in El Tocuyo. When we go back to the past editions of the meeting, why are there so many people at the meeting of Rimini? It's really truly sensational, the event of the meeting. With time, I realized that when I decided to help other people, I realized over time that helping others, I helped myself in a way that I never could have imagined. Help a patient to get out of their suffering and pain helped me as a person. We see this huge contrast between technological advancement and economic and social distress. But at the end of the day, we have to try and anticipate and not only treat, and anticipate and prevent spiritual Alzheimer's, as Pope Francis put it. I tried to look for my eye as the dominant trait of all existence. Monica is showing this slide. After Mass, we can see people going to the various departments. This is the waiting room. This philosophy has helped me, and this initiative has helped me, that technology should not be considered as an enemy, but we should try to use it for the good of all. It helped me to understand when I speak to the young generations, this is the mirror. In the mirror, we are much more than what we see in the mirror. Young generations must take a selfie, but a selfie of their heart, not of their face, that penetrates their conscience, their Instagram of goodness. They should make a group of the common good and teach each other to become better people. And all of this, it taught me that the best Facebook and the best group is God, and the best search engine for us is the Bible. Of course, apart from the fact of being healthy, I found myself within this huge crisis in Venezuela, but this was like a dose of spiritual medicine for me. We don't perceive sounds as we used to. And this has changed for everybody, not just me, but my family and everybody. We had an important anniversary recently, 50 years since the moon landing. To get to the heart, to reach man's heart, we still have a lot of work to do. We need to get to this objective, we need to have a transcendental encounter. My family, my friends have helped me to recognize this. In the poem of Karol Wojtyla, "Your name was born from what you gazed upon," I feel this in the depths of my heart, as true. Many other people in Venezuela have recognized that moment, and in that moment they are looking for their I, they are searching for their true I. And when we realized what was happening, we started to try to do something about it. But in the end, everything that happened to us resulted in being a blessing for all of us. Every time that we try to assist a patient or we try to treat someone, we are actually helping ourselves. Every consultation, every doctor's visit, I was helping myself. And this has been the real blessing for us. This slide, as you can see, this person is called Carlo. He's someone who had problems when he was young. He was drug problems. He was involved in criminal activity. About 15 years ago, he had serious health problems, and he didn't know how to resolve them. He didn't have the economic resources to face it. So he promised us when we organized our activity, he would prepare meals, and then he said he would have sold them. So you can see here him on the bicycle with the meals, and then he would distribute them to the doctors and the patients in the hospital. His children now are involved in the selling of these meals, and they help him. Veronica emerged like many other women when she emerged in the moment in which she looked at Christ. And she became the portrait of truth when she saw the suffering of Christ. In the last couple of years, we've realized that this is what happened. We operated on the children, but they would go home in their children's arms, and then the parents would have to walk for 3 or 4 hours because they had no means of transport. So there are some people who are our friends who have cars, and they asked us, how can we help? And so we organized a volunteer means of transport system so that they could transport the people who had just experienced a surgical operation, and so that they could be brought home. We all know that we can live in the world in the conditions that we find ourselves in at the moment, but we want to work towards a world that is better. Other than the material limitations, we want people to eliminate the violence and we want them to feel so we want them to improve the murals, we want them to paint the gates, we want them to work towards the common good. Sometimes we are able to help in another kind of way. Here we have a soup kitchen. These are the people in the queue that are waiting for their meal. A beautiful thing about Stipendium, we helped people with problems of we help their children. Here we have the children with the dressed up, which is the gift of the vision. And I want to cite Pope John Paul. You are looking at me, I am looking at you. The light goes in and reflects on my cornea. We have a sort of diaphragm within our eyes that regulates the amount of light that comes in. It reflects onto the retina, and the optical nerve brings the message to the brain. So the brain is what allows us to have the sensation or the sense of sight, but we need our organs, our visual organs, our eyes or our ears. We need them to be like the Veronica. We need them to be the light. So the light cannot only arrive to the mind, but must also arrive to the heart. It should not arrive just to the brain, but also to the heart. To our true eye, is so that we can be reborn. And so we need people like the Veronica, people who have been crowned with the crown of thorns and are really having a difficult time, are walking on a difficult journey. But let's hope that Venezuela can resurrect once more, can be resurrected once more.
Sin micrófono. Sin micrófono no, porque no oyen. No van a oír allá. Wow. Ella que te lo pase si quieres. Vale. No es muy difícil. No, lo paso y hablo aquí duro. A ver. Podemos hacer. ¿Está prendido?
Carlos.
Now, I've asked Carlos a few questions, and he's going to answer with his presentation. I asked him how during these difficult years your approach in running your business changed, and also how's your relationship with the people working with you. How do you build the common good, and have you met people you share this wish to contribute in your country's common good with? Thank you, Monica. And thank you for your invitation. Being here today in Rimini is great. I feel such a positive energy, and I wish I could take this energy with me to Venezuela. I've listened to Chema, met Alejandro, and I've met so many interesting people. We need to widen this energy, to spread it in order to make a change. I'm going to read my intervention in order to convey appropriately the message that I've prepared for you. Thank you, Monica. And thanks to you. Many people ask me, how can one want to live and work in Venezuela given the current circumstances? Some people believe this doesn't make sense. I receive a lot of criticism. I've thought a lot about this, and I have no explanation unless I'd like to explain this to you by using a few key points, by telling you some stories that are important for me to show you that life speaks to us, and we always need to pay attention to it. I'd like now to share with you 4 lessons I've learned regarding my life in general. When I was 7, I tried to fly. As Adelpho Galli, the artist, said last night, I jumped off my house with open arms and I broke my arms, but I thought I could do it because my grandfather had taught me that you just need a bit of faith to become a bird. And for a few days I thought I could actually fly, only thanks to prayer and faith. Despite this failure, I was so happy during those days, and those days left me with a very important lesson, which is that this faith can really bring us closer to mystery. And I even tried to fly twice. I grew up in the peninsula of Paria, between the Caribbean Sea and huge forests. And there I fell in love with nature, animals. I desired to get to know the whole world. I'm the youngest of 5 siblings, and my parents are great people, Christians. They love nature, and this is why I have such a good dialogue with God. This is why I use this dialogue with God to love everyone else and to have a good relationship with the ones working with me. I've always been very fascinated by figures and numbers, and this has helped me in my work when I made biscuits and in every my activity, but I'll never forget the lessons I've learned. I learned it when I wanted to help one of my sisters. Before the Football World Championship in Italy in 1990, I bought some pictures of footballers, and I used to sell them at school at a very convenient price. So my first investor was my grandfather, who had convinced me that I could become a bird. But what I learned from this is that motivation in the workplace increases when it has a good impact on other people. I've traveled a lot. I've seen many countries with a backpack on my back. I love adrenaline and extreme sports. There you see me in the picture. You see me on a skateboard, on a surfboard. And I've had a lot of fun during all these experiences. I've met incredible people, fathers who gave me life, great friendships, just unbelievable places. I've met many different people, despite their origins, their beliefs. I just try to learn something from everything, from every people. So I've always tried to know the world. And so I've also found myself in dangerous situations, sometimes in places where I also saw evil. For example, when I tried to learn how to play box at 18 in a place in Caracas, and so I ended up meeting criminals and gangs. And this is just one of many examples of episodes that showed me, that taught me that I could find God everywhere, that we are light but at the same time darkness, and dialogue is a choice we make every day. This is a picture of an area of Caracas, and the majority of people in Caracas are workers and decent and honest people, but sometimes you also meet very dangerous criminal gangs. So traveling is one of my biggest passions, but I discovered another passion when I got sick at 26. I feel responsible for this illness because I wanted something to change in my life. But what looked like the worst tragedy became a blessing. I went through very difficult time I couldn't move. I felt like a 90-year-old from morning to night. I couldn't move. I couldn't play sports. I became very depressed. But that was an extraordinary journey. I remained in a 13 square meter room the whole time. And I was so thankful for many things. It was a very healing process. I learned again how to cry and how to give importance to small things. For example, breathing, being able to breathe. I really created a strong relationship with the present, what I called the protagonism of my spirit. And I started playing an active role in my life, more active than when I was little. This protagonism of the spirit gave me a lot of courage without any anxiety, thanks to love. And this made me very open towards reality and the present circumstances. I'd like now to tell you about my contribution to some businesses that had to reinvent themselves because in order to change their management system. These radical changes helped us grow in a sustainable way in a difficult country such as Venezuela. These are very particular and interesting businesses. This was a very interesting journey. Such businesses had to face huge challenges in 2 centuries. And now we're facing new challenges. Here you can see pictures of Carúpano, the place I grew up. As for Venezuela, I can tell you it's a country that's facing a tragedy. Once, today, during lunch, I was thinking how important a friendship with a particular friend that I have is, and yes, a particular tragedy occurred to me. I thought of the difficult situation of my country, but this friend was someone I hadn't met in a long time. He was very sick. He couldn't find clothes that fit him. He couldn't feed his children, so he was going through a very hard time. And so I found a correlation between these tragedies and everything that Monica has shown us. But it's not always been like this. After 1958, in Venezuela, we started building social peace. In 1964, for the first time in the history of our republic, which was founded in 1930, a president was elected by all the citizens with a universal suffrage. But the most important thing happened in 1968 when a candidate of the opposition won elections with just very few votes. But he got the power anyways, and so this is where the real democracy in Venezuela was born. This process was supported not only by actual politicians, but by all the people of Venezuela. Because everyone could see the positive results, positive consequences, and the benefits of such a change. So everyone decided to contribute to the development of the country. So people started respecting the rules and the laws. The army was very well aware of its function and decided to grant security and safety of every citizen. As Lynn says, Venezuela, starting from the 1980s, started seeing a rupture in democracy because people forgot that democracy must be built every day. So the population lost its interest and trust in the system. The profit made from the oil changed. Work ethics were forgotten. And so this is how Chavez got to power and the socialism of the 21st century. And we've seen the consequences of this in Monica's speech. Reading Hannah Arendt helps us understand where we are now, helps us have an insight into the current situation. Now let's focus on the year 2011. Chavez is at power. He's very successful and popular, and there's a particular part of the population that relates to him, especially workers and poor people. In this situation, there were also family businesses in one of the poorest regions of the country. So, what did we do? Even though we have always tried to put values at the heart of our work, we've also tried to spread new work ethics. For example, we've changed our paradigms. We kept on organizing conferences, workshops. We started encouraging dialogue to show that our work had a goal. And we saw that everyone, all the people, desired the common good in spite of their political thoughts or political beliefs. And working together helped these people overcome all the obstacles. As they say in Venezuela, we created a buena vibra, a good vibe. At the beginning, this was very almost romantic. Then this change brought good results in a concrete way. Our production increased by 130%. And this was possible because we decided to bet on people, and people started paying attention to reality. People were so interested in this and were so passionate about this that they forgot about time. We all kept saying that we were cultivating the present, and in this way we were building the future. We've changed many aspects of our system. We've changed about 40 points in the way we manage and run our businesses. For example, the bosses stopped being called bosses. We call them responsibles instead now. We changed our leadership approach, and which means that we had to work on other aspects as well. But changing the language helped us in a strategic way. So we went from a command leadership to a service leadership. There wasn't a hierarchy anymore. We started creating a work structure, so every person had specific functions and roles, but perfectly understood everyone's function in spite of the specific task. This led to a horizontal communication model. An example of our challenges at the beginning. This is 2011 when we started our work. When we started thinking with our workers about our business. There there was a lot of tension in the room. They probably thought I was a billionaire, corrupt, that I was there to exploit them, that the company was about to go bust. So first of all, I talked to them in a very honest way, and then I said, let's put our differences apart, let's work together. Remember that when we die, worms will eat all of us, and they don't care whether one is rich or not. So I started laughing when I said this. And they started laughing with me. So trust led to harmony, and our whole attitude changed. Thinking that we're all light and darkness, and that death is something that we all share, really helped us. In this picture, you can see that empathy and humility are fundamental to work together. People became more and more energetic and had a positive attitude. And it became evident that if the company worked, then we all could benefit from its profit. So this is how we created the San Jose Foundation, which plays a key role in the area right now. In this area, we started cooperating with other foundations for the common good. And one day we met Alejandro Marius. He said that he would like to come and visit us to Paria, and he wanted an agenda of the living forces of the area. Instead, we said, well, we'll prepare an agenda of the dead forces of the area, because we thought that there was not much left in our area. So this is how our friendship started. So we built a network of organizations working for the common good, and we launched joint projects, we supported other projects, and our friendship still grows today and involves many people and many other organizations, such as the Diocese of Carupa. The bishop actively works with us in the peninsula of Paria. His help is fundamental for us because it makes us better people, and it helps us give our best. The foundation grew, it broadened its scope, and when one starts working for the common good, one understands that this positive energy is much more than the single person, than the individual. It depends on everyone. People then started understanding the importance of having a goal, of having a reason why one does something, and this is contagious. Thanks to this, many professionals that had left the country started betting on Venezuela again. And we keep on working on this aspect. We create new jobs and new possibilities for these people. It's not easy because there are constant changes. We always have to face new challenges, but I can tell you that the most important thing for me is seeing how people change. Even just one person. In conclusion, this is a wonderful picture, a wonderful place. After what I've just told you, you may understand that it's not crazy to remain in Venezuela. I'm happy here. And maybe you now see how we tried and share our vision with other people. some of my friends still tell me, well, you should leave Venezuela, go away, but I'm happy, really happy in Venezuela. And yes, our country is suffering from a very serious illness, and it may be one of the biggest tragedies, but if we take on our responsibilities, then we may save the country, and we have infinite possibilities. I'm not an idealist. It's a desire that moves us. Because it's not the end that justifies the means, but the means are an end in themselves. I now have other reasons to go back to Venezuela as soon as possible. Anna, a great woman, my wife, Elia, she's just 2 months old and she's already taught me so much. The first thing she taught me was feeling unconditional love, just like the one God has for all of us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Alejandro, what does it mean, an education on work, regarding work in Venezuela? And I'd like to ask you, why don't you leave your country? I think that many people would be willing to hire you here in Italy. So why do you decide to stay?
The question that you asked me, I don't want to generate any kind of confusion. I'm very optimistic, I'm a dreamer. But why do I decide to stay in Venezuela? Well, I think I could answer by answering another kind of question. Why is anyone in the country in which they find themselves in? Why is anyone doing the job that they are doing? What is the objective, the meaning of everyone's life? So the theme, the concept of vocation is at play here. Something that Don Julian Carron said once struck me a lot. Our whole life is played out in the fact that beauty is right in front of our eyes. Because I open my eyes and it awakens my desire. How many times have beautiful things happen to us, even in a place, in a country like Venezuela, and we are not capable of grasping them? I don't know if you had the opportunity to see the sculpture of Dante here in the meeting, how Dante looks at Beatrice coming towards him. We need friends, but we need friends to help us to have this gaze. Within a situation of political stability, which is the situation in Italy, apart from politicians where services are working. Are you all from Italy? Okay. Do you have light? Do you have food? Well, you've got nothing to worry about then. There are a lot of jobs here. There aren't the jobs that maybe the students have studied for, but ask Venezuelans if they go around the world and if they find jobs. They will say yes, absolutely. Maybe not amazing jobs, but they may be taxi drivers and they have enough to keep their family and make a living. Within huts, within even a hut, we can find beauty. This is something that has struck me in the last couple of years. Bringing opportunities and education to students and young people in the worst living conditions, to places that are living difficult conditions. There you can meet people who are full of the desire to work, to build a better future for them and for their country. This is the first thing, a gaze. A gaze that you, as my friend said earlier, there are about 4 million Venezuelans all over the world. In Syria, we have a similar phenomenon, except there's a war there. We have a different kind of problem in Venezuela. In front of this, many old people have been left alone, abandoned, with their families abroad who have sent money back. Either we leave, or we find another solution to this problem. So we tried to develop a diploma for caretakers, so that people could work a second job as a caretaker for old people. And we've just started this course for becoming caretakers. Developing intelligence within work. This is what we're interested in. This photo, I took this photo. I'm very proud of this photo. I took it in the cocoa bean plantation. And this is the flower of the cocoa bean. And it's also the title of the wonderful song by Opere, and you will hear later on. And this shows the value of time. How many of you have seen a flower of cocoa flower? Well, you've all eaten chocolate, but have you ever seen the flower? You have had good coffee and good chocolate. This is thanks to time. It is in time that flowers arrive. And with others, we are proposing chocolate to the favelas because we want to show that we are not only able of producing raw materials, but we are able to engage our resources, our people, to make a great country, Venezuela. Here we have a photo of the team of the foundation. We have the women who are studying, the old students who are giving lessons on chocolate. And we also have the ambassador for the European Union of France, of Italy. And we have their father, Franceschi, Carlos's father. And they're all together, and they are to try and build this work. They are competitors. In Venezuela, we need a lot of assistance because we're in an emergency situation. But what struck me most was a sentence by Pope Francis that Monica reminded me of. Assistance plans needed for certain emergencies should be thought as transitory and short-term solutions, because they don't guarantee the work of dignity and participation. We are a non-profit organization. We were given a lot of money to feed the children, and we said, no, we can't make a canteen here, because when children start playing football, when on a football pitch, everyone is behind the football, so we have to work as professionals in our company. So our role is not to become a canteen, but to occupy ourselves with the main objective, which is education. So those who are in school after 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, we have decided to teach the women to learn to cook. The mothers in particular of the children who remain after the afternoon hours. Next month, we will do the same in Valencia. After the education course, they work as volunteers to cook for their children and other children in the area. So we are responding to the emergency, but with the promise that their children will not eat there the next year, but that in the hope that they will eat at home with the food cooked by their own mothers the next year. After 10 years, we had a 10-year anniversary in February, and last year we said it's not enough to simply create educational courses. I'm not an intellectual, but I understood that we needed to infuse beauty in our courses because Venezuela is a happy people. We sing and we are a people who wants to work and wants to put effort in. So we asked this musician, Francisco, stand up and applause, please. He's a guitar player. Yesterday, I understood his challenge better. We were having dinner with Franco Nembrini last year at the meeting of Rimini with Michaela, who is an Italian musician, and with Monica. We were wondering how we could help Francisco because he wanted to play jazz guitar, and there's not much of a market in Venezuela. And with what he earned from playing in bars, he was only able to pay the taxi ride to the bar. So we said, why don't we make a CD on Venezuelan songs of work? And we saw him as if he was in the barrier of fire in purgatory. And Virgil was telling him, come here, come here. And there's one condition. You can only come in if you can't play the guitar. No. You have to be the project manager. And then he said, no. And he was reading this part of the Purgatory, and he said yes to this proposal. And this was fantastic because the person who was on his right was Achilles Baez, the most important composer and guitar player of Venezuela. He's been everywhere in the world, and those two, they involved more than 30 musicians in Venezuela. They started to record during the blackouts in March in the only professional recording studio left in Caracas. The musicians, at the end of the recording session, they would walk 2 hours to go home because there were no means of transport. So putting your talents at work and to show that Venezuela, you can work while singing. A song that is very much loved even by my brother. It's in the songbook of communal liberation. We realized that the person who wrote this song was very connected to the Chavez government. And he said, I'm going to give you the copyright of this song for free, and I also give you permission to record this song. So, as Carlos said earlier, 1 by 1 to 100. You have all heard, some of you have heard the concert on Thursday night. If you have the chance to go to the bookshop and have the chance to buy this CD, and this CD/book shows the work with the sound of Venezuelan music, which has a contemporary style. I think it will win a lot of prizes in the future. A friend wrote to me on Friday morning, who had been involved in the Pope Francis exhibition, Gestures and Words, last year. He said, look, I make a bet with you. The translation will be in Spanish and will be sold in Argentina. This is a journey that everybody needs in every country, because beauty makes work be reborn again. This means that song and work are two things that go together to develop a country that needs you, but also needs your gaze, so that we can become the true protagonists of change. We can put politicians aside. No, us. We are the ones responsible for change. Thank you. Thank you very much. I thank our friends from Venezuela very much. And your irreducibility, personally, to know that you exist and that your friendship is alive makes me a different person, and I think makes me a better person in facing everything that I live every day. So I leave you with the wish that we all continue to be builders of the common good, no matter wherever we find ourselves in the world. Now we will play the song, and our guitar player will exhibit the song for us. Will perform the song. Let's spread the word about this CD and try and get people to buy it and enjoy the recordings. Through the funds, the profits of this CD, we will try to make scholarships for universities and schools, and work scholarships. Anybody, tell everybody and anybody. Thank you very much.
Si può ballare.
You can dance if you want.
Ole, 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 ole. para los sueños del pueblo venezolano. Gloria al Padre, gloria al Hijo, gloria al Espíritu Santo. Gloria al Padre, gloria al Hijo, gloria al Espíritu Santo. En mi tierra Venezuela, la gente va pregonando en jornada de labores que se trabaja cantando, canto de trabajadores. Su ritmo me ha contagiado. Te canto mi Venezuela, eres la flor del cacao. Te canto mi Venezuela, eres la flor del cacao. Te canto mi Venezuela. Eres la flor del cacao. En mi tierra Venezuela, eres la flor del cacao. La gente va pregonando. Eres la flor del cacao. Eres la flor del cacao. Eres la flor del cacao. Un canto venezolano. Eres la flor del cacao. Y aquí estamos disfrutando. Eres la flor del cacao. Eres la flor del cacao. ¡Golpe! Eres la flor de Venezuela, ay del cacao, como nadadores en la jornada de las labores, bien trabajando y van cantando. Eres la flor y del cacao. Eres la flor del cacao.
Il banco. Mi date il. C'è il banco libri qua.
There's the bookshop just outside if you want to buy the CD. Thank you.